What is going on, guys? Welcome to my channel, and tonight we're watching Night of the Living Dead. This is the 1968 classic that started it all. Now, Romero is probably one of the most famous directors in history, and without this film, we probably wouldn't have anything even similar to what we have today. So let's watch this movie and see how well it holds up. We start off with some beautiful black and white cinematography, which I always love. A TV announcer is talking about a mysterious space probe that has returned from an unknown planet. The probe was sent out to Venus, but when it returned, all contact with it was lost. It finally landed in a small town in Pennsylvania, specifically the small town of Evans City. At least that's what Google says. But I couldn't find the actual town. So maybe it's not there anymore, or it never really existed. There's no mention of where this town is, so I don't know. Anyway, everyone is excited because they've been waiting for this probe to return. Even though it landed in the middle of a graveyard, people still thought it would be cool. Barbara and her little brother Johnny are sitting in the car with their father. They're headed to the local cemetery to go visit their mother's grave. Their father is getting impatient, and he wants to leave. He thinks this whole thing with the flying saucer is a bunch of bullcrap. While they're driving through the country, they hear on the radio that the military is planning on bringing out tanks and attacking the flying saucer. Once they arrive at the cemetery, Barbara and her brother are looking around for some headstones while their father is just pissed. He keeps saying, "Let's go. Let's get out of here." Barbara finds a headstone that says, "Here lies Harry Cooper," so she decides to sit on it. All of a sudden, they hear gunshots. The military has arrived. Everyone is running away in terror. The military is now shooting at the flying saucer. Barbara and her brother hide in the mausoleum while their father goes to investigate. Inside the mausoleum, there are two other survivors hiding. One of them is Ben, the other is Judy. They were lovers in high school, but they were separated when the outbreak occurred. Ben thinks that the military is smart for trying to destroy this thing. He believes that it's an alien vessel, and whatever is inside of it needs to die. Judy thinks that the military has no idea what they're doing, and that they're going to end up dying. They all come to the conclusion that they should stay inside the mausoleum until the coast is clear. Meanwhile, outside, their father is looking for a way into the flying saucer. He sees a hole and decides to crawl through it. He sees several dead bodies lying around. He tries to run away, but he ends up tripping over a root and breaking his neck. Back at the mausoleum, Ben and Judy are getting along really well. Things are going pretty good until Barbara comes in carrying her little brother's corpse. Ben tells her that he'll help her bury him. When they come out, they see that their father has returned, but he's not human. His flesh is missing and his bones are completely bare. He attacks them, but they fight back. Ben hits him with a shovel, and they keep him outside the mausoleum, hoping that the sun will kill him. When morning comes, the military is nowhere to be found. The flying saucer has landed. People are running around like animals. One guy who is covered in blood runs past Ben and Judy and straight into the flying saucer. We see that the interior of it is basically like a giant incubation egg. All of these fleshy pods are surrounding the guy who crawled into it. More people show up, and they all continue to crawl inside. Ben and Judy try to stop them, but there's nothing they can do. They watch as more and more people turn into these creatures. Eventually, Ben and Judy come across a farmhouse. They decide to go inside and hide. There's a family of 4 inside. They tell them about the outbreak. The family doesn't believe them, thinking that it's just some kind of joke. Ben and Judy say that they'd be willing to take care of the farm if they allowed them to stay there. The family agrees. So Ben and Judy stay there for the night. In the morning, they hear gunshots coming from outside. The family goes to the window and they see the military has returned. They're firing at the creatures. Ben and Judy go to check on the others, but they're all gone. The farmhouse is empty. Ben and Judy decide to move into the farmhouse and make it their own. They bring out the food and water and set up beds. They seem pretty optimistic, but they realize that they're totally alone. Now, I thought this movie was great. It's definitely a slow burn, but it builds suspense and tension very effectively. For its time, the special effects were incredible. Of course, compared to today's standards, the zombies look ridiculous. But you have to remember that this came out in 1968. These effects were groundbreaking. The practical effects used in this film still hold up today. Even the infamous lurching walk looks better than some of the computer-generated garbage we get nowadays. The reason why I like this movie so much is because it doesn't take itself seriously. Even though this is a horror movie, there are plenty of comedic moments. My favorite part is when the guy walks into this spaceship and the camera pans away. You can hear him screaming in the background, but we never actually see anything. Another great scene is when the military shows up and starts shooting at the spaceship. The camera work during this sequence is absolutely fantastic. I also like how Romero uses symbolism throughout this movie. For example, the use of the TV as a medium to deliver news is very important. Television was one of the most popular forms of entertainment back in the 1960s. It's interesting how Romero chose to use it in this way. The TV was basically another character in this movie. In another scene, there's a character named Harry Cooper. He's reading the newspaper and drinking coffee when he hears the news about the spaceship. This is symbolic because it represents the everyday average Joe. Harry Cooper is basically everyman. It's a clever way to add more depth to the film. Another thing I liked about this film is that it was one of the first movies to portray zombies accurately. Before this, zombies were always voodoo creatures. They were either mindless slaves or resurrected corpses that craved human flesh. George A. Romero created something totally different. His zombies were flesh-eating ghouls that preyed on the living. The term zombie comes from Haitian folklore. Originally, the word simply meant dead. However, when the term was used in literature, it took on a new meaning. Zombies became reanimated corpses that had no free will. This is exactly how Romero portrayed them in his film. They weren't ghosts. They didn't have any supernatural powers. They were simply mindless monsters that lived only to consume flesh. This film is also important because it helped pave the way for independent horror movies. Back in the 1960s, horror films were produced by the major studios. Night of the Living Dead was made by a small production company called Latent Image. Even though it had a small budget, it grossed over $30 million worldwide. This proved to studios that low-budget horror films could be profitable. As a result, we saw a surge in independent horror movies throughout the 1970s. And finally, this film helped change the genre forever. It introduced the world to the modern zombie. And ever since then, we've seen countless remakes, rip-offs, and homages to this film. Without Night of the Living Dead, we probably wouldn't have anything even close to the zombie genre we have today. Now, before I wrap things up, I want to ask you a question. What do you think about the ending of this film? It's one of the most controversial endings in cinema history. Some people love it, others hate it. I personally am a big fan of it. I think it's an incredibly ambiguous and thought-provoking ending. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. I'd also like to take a moment to say thank you to all of my awesome supporters. The support you've shown me means more to me than you'll ever know. Alright, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.